The frame is familiar. Queen's a couch that has survived every opinion known to man, a kitchen that can feed sorrow and celebration with the same spoon but the angles tilt. Instead of treating California as an argument, this telling treats it as a magnet, a steady pull that reorganizes everything metal in the room. Michael's new academic post is the official reason, a crisp adult fact with a date on it and a salary attached, yet beneath the paperwork sits the itch of a young family wanting to wear a bigger sky. Gloria calls it what it is, a chance, and the word travels differently through the house. In Edith, it flowers into plans, recipes, lists. In Archie, it clangs against a set of convictions forged partly from pride and partly from the terror that quiet rooms are louder than noisy ones. He answers with ritual, a wisecrack, a suspicious squint, a geography lesson that confuses coastline with morality. You can tell he's scared because he's funny. Most men of his type are only hilarious when they're cornered. The plot's fuse is lit by real estate. George Jefferson has buyers for the Stivics place, and the buyers want to move in like fate, swiftly and without negotiation. That means boxes and bubble wrap and the humbling chore of touching everything you own and asking whether it still belongs in your life. Before they board a westbound plane, Michael and Gloria cart their living back to Archie's for a temporary return to the crowded waltz of 704. The transition lands like deja vu with teeth. Shared space awakens old duels dressed as jokes. Michael praises Shakespeare with a glow in his voice. Archie hands the crown to the Three Stooges and acts like anybody who disagrees has betrayed America. They tussle because it's the house's grammar. He likes his laughter big and his lessons short. Michael prefers his jokes compact and his insights with footnotes. If they were strangers, it would be an argument about taste. Because they are family, it's a tender fight over who gets the last word about what matters. Edith tries to keep the oxygen level comfortable for everyone. She understands that meals are more than meals, that a roast can be a truce and a pie can be a bandage. She designs a farewell dinner at home, one last table where plates can carry the weight of what throats cannot say. It is more than menu, it's liturgy. She's counting on the ritual to bless the future, even if the men posture and the daughter cries. Then, at precisely the wrong moment, and for exactly the right reason, opportunity knocks with a white tablecloth. Michael, soon-to-be boss, invites him and Gloria to dinner at the plaza. It is a local test with national implications for a young scholar's life. You don't skip the audition when the conductor finally looks up. Now the house has two tables set at once. At one sits the last supper of a family arrangement. At the other, the first course of a new career. The collision is unavoidable. Everyone pretends it is just scheduling. Nobody believes it. The living room absorbs the argument like a stage set that has seen every play. Archie prosecutes his case with the weapons that have always worked for him, exaggeration jokes sharpened into Dart's nostalgia stapled to duty. He paints a picture of Joey's mornings so vivid you can hear the cereal box open the toddler's window, the short walk to grandma's kitchen, the chocolate milk, the stories before nap. In his telling, you don't move a child away from such perfection unless ambition has eaten your conscience. It's manipulative because it's beautiful, and the beauty makes it hard to fight clean. Michael hears the overture to a guilt symphony and stiffens. Gloria hears the ache underneath, sees the father, whose proud body language is a costume he forgets he's wearing, and tries to referee a contest that has no neutral ground. Edith, who has prepared the exact number of biscuits that hope requires, holds her smile like a lantern in a basement. The detente cracks where family peace always breaks at the dining table under pressure from time. Quips fly, then land with the lead weight of subtext. A joke about culture is really a dare. A jab about manners is really a wound. Gloria says a blunt sentence that puts furniture back in its place. Michael replies with a version of adult sovereignty. Archie performs generosity as a threat. Go, don't worry about us. We survive everything in a tone. That means choose and let me witness your arithmetic. The plaza wins by default, not because anyone loves it more than a kitchen, but because every dream has a passport stamped with a few painful decisions. Edith wraps the uneaten tenderness and pretends leftovers were part of the plan. What saves them is the same force that often rescues households run by strong personalities, the woman who understands that ritual can absorb a punch. Gloria suggests a vow renewal now rather than later. If the 10th anniversary trip was supposed to include a ceremony out west, let the living room host the sacrament before anyone boards a plane. It is a wise theft from the future, borrowing a blessing in advance to pay today's emotional bills. Clothes are changed. A minister is fetched. Archie mispronounces something and refuses the long version of his own name. There is a little comedy in the ring exchange, a scramble that makes the solemn human, and then there are words that land as if scripted by mercy itself. Love is dance partners that don't step on each other's feet. Marriage is pillars holding one roof without colliding devotion, as the art of giving light and space rather than shadow and control. Edith hears permission to let their child go without surrendering her motherhood. Gloria hears a map for a daughter who is also a wife. Michael hears a command to keep ambition subordinate to gratitude. And Archie, fiercely loyal to anything that tells him where to stand, hears the hardest assignment of his life: be a husband and father whose love isn't a leash. The picture afterward looks soft and messy the way real grace looks. There's laughter at the wrong moment, a kiss that needs a do-over, a camera angle with someone blinking. They are not saints. They are decent people being brave in a familiar room. The ceremony doesn't solve the travel plan, and it doesn't erase the plaza. It does something better. It changes the way the goodbye will be said. The leave-taking moves, with the choreography of airports, luggage by the door, a cab that honks without malice, the sound of a zipper sliding closed on childhood. Edith's eyes learn to shine and hold. She is a mother, which means she can cry and smile with the same mouth. She tucks a cookie into a little hand because food is the grandmother's sacrament, and because sugar can buy you the 4 seconds you need to lift a child from one embrace to another. Michael does small chores with priestly attention, checking a knob, finding a toy, fastening a strap, because men who feel deeply often need a rickety bridge of tasks to carry them across a hard moment. Gloria hugs in a way that tries to hold 2 people at once. Archie, who will be dead last to grant language to what he feels, talks about cab fares and seat belts and the general unreliability of the West Coast, as if expense and safety were the same as love. And then the break through the line that shocks the room into stillness, not because nobody knew it, but because everybody doubted he could say it. He admits that love was hiding under the insults, that the years of combat were also years of care, that he doesn't hate the man who took his daughter's hand, he loves him. The reply is instant and clean. Whatever has been defended and misunderstood between them rests for a second like a bird in a quiet tree. They shake hands the way some men say, amen. The door closes on a house that has never liked silence and is about to learn it. The silence is not empty. It has texture. Edith finds new chores for hands that do not know how to be unemployed. She rinses a cup twice, smooths a cloth 3 times, solves the ache of an unused high chair by pretending to dust it. Archie discovers that the radio can pretend to be a neighbor, and that the evening news, infuriating as it is, keeps a man in the company of something loud. The first postcard arrives, a beach swallowing the sun, a toddler's smudge on the ink. 2 sets of handwriting, Gloria's cheerful logistics and Michael's professional hope. Edith keeps it on the mantle where good news learns to stand next to old photographs. Archie picks it up now and then with a skepticism he cannot maintain. Phone calls follow. The first one is, "Messy all hello, and how are you? And what's the weather like? And are you eating right? And does the baby sleep? And are the streets safe?" Archie tries to act bored. He cannot sustain it for an entire conversation. Michael tries not to sound proud. He fails when he talks about a class that finally woke up. Gloria keeps saying, "You should see then," corrects it to, "You'll see then," laughs at herself because she knows the difference matters and refuses to apologize for happiness. Edith makes yes a musical instrument and plays it softly, coaxing the details out of the distance until the line hums like a string you could pluck. The calls define a new civility. Nobody has to win to be heard. Out west, the new life behaves exactly as new lives do. The apartment is honest about its size 2 rooms that pose as more, and generous with its light. They argue about where the crib should point. They settle on the window because the idea of a horizon feels like a promise worth giving a child even when the view is just a rectangle of city. The campus performs its ritual late-night preparation, early morning nerves. The first lecture, where the questions exceed the answers, and that's a sign the class is alive. A mentor with the startled kindness of old books shows Michael the secret that all teachers learn late people don't remember facts. They remember whether the room felt like a place where their mind could walk around. He walks home both lighter and more awake. Gloria plants her day with neighbors' names and grocery lists and a careful curation of firsts: first friend, first park, first corner cafe with coffee good enough to anchor a long afternoon of ordinary happiness. Joey treats geography like a roomer. He recognizes faces, not latitudes, and his laughter is a persuasive essay on the thesis that love travels faster than time zones. Back in Queens, the neighborhood learns to leave space for the bunker quiet. People drop by carrying objects with purpose: a skillet that can handle grief, a plant that doesn't demand much water, a pie that insists on being shared. Jefferson shows up the way men do when they want to help but are allergic to tenderness. He wraps concern in jokes and time limits, and the visit feels like someone tightened a bolt that had been rattling. Edith collects these gestures and files them among her practical sacraments. Archie keeps score on a ledger he won't admit exists. How many days between calls, what the laughter sounded like, whether the sentences included words like soon and next time. Pride sneaks up on him disguised as a different emotion. He mistakes it for irritation until he overhears himself bragging to a neighbor about the boys' new office and the department that knows talent when it sees it. A small crisis confirms what they are building. Joey runs a fever only a parent can see as apocalypse. The doctor is calm, the night is long, morning is merciful. The event is easy to narrate in a few words. The feeling is not. The next time they call, Gloria's voice has an iron filament that Edith recognizes. It is the tone of a woman who has been initiated by a night she didn't want and came out with the unglamorous courage that families rely on more than they ever admit. What they don't say on the phone, because there is no point, is that both parents stood by a crib pretending not to cry. What they do say is that the sun tomorrow will be embarrassing in how ordinary it looks, and that ordinariness is the prize. Seasons do what seasons do. Autumn in Queens trains the trees to tell the truth in color before they let go. Autumn in California teaches people to carry a sweater they won't need at noon. They exchange recipes and local rumors by mail because information becomes affection when folded into envelopes. Eventually, a visit is mapped. Archie resists flying using statistics that are secretly feelings. Edith packs the courage for both of them, alongside bakery goods from a place that insists the old way is the right way, and a photograph from the living room ceremony in a frame that makes the moment look like heritage. On the plane, Archie performs performance, complaining about the peanuts, while eating them, reminding Edith how the Wright brothers were show-offs. And then he naps, because the body betrays what the mouth denies. Arrival rewrites everybody's posture. Airports are warehouses until the person you love is near, and then they turn into chapels. Gloria's face is a light you can carry. Michael's relief confirms that anxiety makes him taller. Joey's arms function like an invitation no one refuses. The visit is a seminar in domestic diplomacy. Mornings are core symphonies that demonstrate how togetherness still works in unfamiliar rooms. Afternoons are excursions where each generation gets fed parks for memory, bookstores for ideas, bakeries for souls, playgrounds for proof that the human race deserved to be invented. Evenings become the new hearth. Archie discovers the local sandwich that tastes like a handshake between burrows. Edith finds a thrifted vase with a past and decides it has earned a future on someone's windowsill. They talk not to settle old scores, but to mark new peace. Michael thanks Archie without staging a confession. Archie grumbles his approval because improper gratitude is his love language. Gloria stitches the moment to their vow renewal with a reference to those words about not blocking each other's sunlight, and the room falls into the easy silence of people who have finally stopped confusing possession with devotion. When the visit ends, the parting is competent rather than catastrophic. Announcements about seatbelts do double duty as blessings. Back home, Queens smells the same and looks kinder. The photograph from the ceremony shares a mantle with a postcard of a beach. Together, they explain a family's theology promises up-close horizons far away, both necessary. Calls become rhythm, not rescue. Postcards become breadcrumbs rather than emergency flares. At holidays, logistics are negotiated with the kind of generosity that used to be theory and is now habit. The old arguments about Hamlet and the Stooges never die, they just stop pretending to be verdicts. They turn into comedy bits. The family willingly replays proof that difference can be sport instead of war. What restores this household most is not a grand conversion, but a practical redefinition. Archie discovers that blessing is a job description he can live with. It means giving his opinion without forcing it to win, guarding the porch light, treating the phone like a bridge instead of a lifeline. Edith keeps practicing the same faith she practiced from the beginning. Lay the table even when you're not certain who is coming, and never underestimate the power of a well-timed cookie. Michael learns to protect his ambition from arrogance by braiding it with gratitude, and in doing so, he finds he can talk to Archie without converting him. Gloria becomes proof that a daughter can love her father in full voice while still stepping into a life that belongs to her. Joey grows like a confident thesis quietly supported by 4 solid sources. Some nights, Archie writes his private history in the quiet between commercial breaks and will never admit it to anyone. It's not a prettifying. It's a ledger of the things he thought were punishments that turned out to be gifts with ugly wrapping, like being out-argued by a son-in-law who also became a son, like obeying a minister's sentence about trees and discovering it was aimed at men who love too tightly. He doesn't toss his old opinions, he just stops using them as weapons. If you asked him what changed, he would make a joke about the price of a taxi to the airport and then let a corner of his mouth betray him. By the time the story sits back down, the house at 704 has learned a new music. It hums with fewer voices, and each voice has more room to echo. The chair is still an altar. The television is still a choir. The phone is still a bell. The difference is that everyone understands what each instrument is for. A day will come when the door opens and the same faces appear altered by time and sunlight, and the house will expand again to fit the noise. When that day arrives, they won't re-argue the old fights because they'll be busy practicing the newer sport of mutual bragging. The best grade, the funniest joke, the bravest day anyone had in months. They will sit with plates that don't match and stories that do, and the sentence that ends the evening will not be a verdict, but a simple promise: call us when you get home. In this family, that is how love signs its name.